Dr. Amelia Westlake's hands trembled as she placed the needle into the syringe, drawing up the clear liquid. It was a routine procedure, one she had performed countless times before. But today, everything felt different. The air seemed to hum with an electric energy, and the normally sterile smell of the lab was replaced by the sharp tang of fear. She glanced up at the clock, willing the hands to move faster. She had been working on Thomas Wright for hours now, trying to piece together the fragments of his memory. He was a young man, no more than 25, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to stare right through her. His hair was cut short, military style, and his face bore the faint scars of past surgeries. He had been brought in just a few days ago, unconscious and with no identification. The only clue to his identity was the faded number tattooed on his wrist, 007. Thomas's case was unlike anything Amelia had ever seen. His medical records were sketchy at best, and his brain scans revealed damage that shouldn't have been possible. The boy she had grown up with at the orphanage appeared to have disappeared forever. The doctors had diagnosed him with retrograde amnesia, but Amelia knew there was something more going on here. She had seen the way he flinched when certain words were spoken, the way his eyes darted around the room when she asked him about his past. It was as if he was hiding something, and she was determined to find out what it was. As she injected the sedative into Thomas's fore, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. His breathing grew deeper, and his eyelids began to flutter. In just a few moments he would be asleep, and she would have another chance to delve into the depths of his mind. But she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever she was about to find, it wouldn't be good. The lab around her faded into the background as Amelia focused on Thomas's mind. She guided him through a series of carefully constructed memories, each designed to help him piece together the fragmented recollections of his past. But as she probed deeper, she began to sense something else, something darker and more sinister lurking just beneath the surface. It was as if someone had taken apart his memories and reassembled them in a twisted, nightmarish collage. And then, as if from nowhere, a face flashed before her eyes. A woman with long, raven hair and piercing green eyes. She was beautiful, but there was something haunting about her features. Amelia felt as if she knew her, as if they had shared a secret in the past. But when she tried to remember where she had seen her before, nothing came to mind. It was as if the memory had been erased, wiped clean from her mind. With a shiver, Amelia turned back to Thomas. His face was calm now, his breathing regular. But she knew that whatever she had seen, whatever she had felt, it was only the beginning. The deeper she went into his mind, the more she realized that the lines between reality and illusion were blurring, and the closer she was to uncovering a truth that someone was willing to kill to keep hidden. She couldn't shake the feeling that Thomas was more than just a patient. He was a key player in a game far greater than she could have ever imagined. As she continued to explore his memories, she found herself questioning everything she knew about the world around her. Were the people she worked with really who they said they were? Were the doctors and nurses she trusted in fact part of a sinister conspiracy? The more she dug, the more she realized that the world she lived in was not as it seemed. There were secrets hidden in the shadows, and Thomas Wright was the only one who could reveal them. But as she delved deeper, she knew that the closer she got to the truth, the greater the danger would become. In the end, Amelia knew that she couldn't stop now. She had to see it through, no matter the cost. For the sake of Thomas, and for the sake of humanity itself. The fate of the world hung in the balance, and it was up to her to make the right choice. To uncover the truth, or to let it remain hidden forever. As she leaned in closer, her fingers poised over the keyboard, ready to unlock the final secrets of Thomas Wright's mind, she couldn't help but wonder what she would find. Would it be a revelation that would change the course of history? Or would it be a nightmare so terrible that it would be better left undisturbed? The clock ticked on, the air thick with anticipation and fear, as Amelia prepared to enter the heart of darkness, and uncover the truth about Thomas Wright. She keyed in the final command, and with a flash of light the lab around her disappeared, replaced by a surreal landscape of twisting, branching pathways. Each path led deeper into the mind of Thomas, each one more treacherous than the last. Amelia hesitated for a moment, taking a deep breath, before setting off down one of the paths at random. As she walked, the scenery around her began to shift and warp, reflecting the chaos of Thomas's memories. Distorted images flickered past like a macabre slideshow. A raven-haired woman with piercing green eyes, a shadowy figure lurking in the corner of a room, a voice whispering secrets in the darkness. With every step, the pressure in Amelia's chest grew heavier, the air thicker with dread. She knew that whatever she was about to find, it would change her life forever. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she arrived at a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a massive tree, its branches stretching out into the infinite distance. The tree was alive with light, pulsing like a heartbeat, and at its base lay a single, glowing key. As she reached out to take it, a voice echoed through the depths of her mind. "You've come so far, Amelia," the voice whispered, its tone both seductive and sinister. "But are you prepared to face the truth?" A cold sweat prickled Amelia's skin. The voice was familiar, yet utterly alien. It sent shivers down her spine and a tremor through her hand, momentarily breaking her focus on the key. Her mind raced, desperately trying to place the voice, to connect it to the haunting vision of the raven-haired woman. Suddenly, a searing pain erupted in her head, a white-hot flash that momentarily blinded her. When her vision cleared, the clearing had transformed. The vibrant tree was gone, replaced by a sterile, white room. In the center of the room stood a gurney, and strapped to it was a man with short, military-style hair and piercing blue eyes, a younger, healthier version of Thomas. Panic surged through Amelia. Was this another memory fragment of Thomas's? Or something more? Her gaze darted around the room, searching for the source of the voice. A cold metallic hum filled the air as a panel in the wall slid open, revealing a figure clad in a lab coat, face obscured by the harsh overhead light. "Welcome back, Drive Westlake," the figure said, their voice eerily similar to the one echoing in Amelia's mind. "We've been expecting you." Amelia's heart hammered against her ribs. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice a thin thread. "What have you done to him?" The figure moved into the light, revealing a woman with sharp features and steely gray eyes. It wasn't the woman from the vision, but the resemblance was undeniable. A scientist? Someone connected to the experiments that scarred Thomas's brain? "Who I am isn't important," the woman said coolly. "What matters is that you've uncovered a piece of the puzzle. Project Phoenix is far more complex than you could ever imagine." Project Phoenix? The name sparked a flicker of recognition in Amelia's mind. A classified program rumored to deal with memory manipulation and human augmentation. Was Thomas a product of this project? And what was her connection to it? "Let him go," Amelia insisted, her voice gaining strength. "Whatever you've done to him, you need to stop." The scientist's lips curved into a cold smile. "You misunderstand, Doctor. You're not here to save Thomas. You're here as a subject." Amelia's blood ran cold. This wasn't just about Thomas's fragmented memories anymore. They were using her as a tool, a key to unlock the secrets of Project Phoenix. But why her? Was it the incident from her childhood, the one shrouded in amnesia? Was it somehow connected to this program? The woman gestured towards a metallic device next to the gurney. Its purpose was clear: to probe, to manipulate. Fear threatened to consume Amelia, but a fierce defiance sparked within her. She wouldn't be a passive participant in this twisted experiment. "No," she declared, her voice ringing with newfound resolve. "You won't use me. The truth will come out, one way or another." As the scientist took a menacing step forward, a piercing alarm blared, red lights flooding the sterile white room. The woman swore under her breath, glancing towards a concealed monitor. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a figure in a trench coat stormed in, brandishing a gun. "David Pierce," Amelia whispered, recognition dawning. The government agent, the one who had been keeping tabs on her research. Was he here to help, or to keep the truth buried? The room descended into chaos. The scientist lunged for a hidden control panel, while Pierce fired a warning shot, forcing her back. In the ensuing struggle, a vial from the scientist's pocket shattered, releasing a cloud of purple gas. Amelia coughed, the fumes stinging her eyes. The lab began to spin, and a wave of dizziness washed over her. Just as darkness threatened to engulf her, she saw a flash of movement, Pierce diving towards the gurney, shielding Thomas from the gas. The world dissolved into blackness. When Amelia awoke, she was strapped to a hospital bed, a pulsating headache throbbing in her skull. Disoriented, she tried to piece together the fragments of the nightmarish scene. Where was she? What had happened to Thomas and Pierce? And most importantly, what did it all mean? Looking around the sterile white room, her gaze fell on a figure sitting beside her bed. It was David Pierce, his face etched with concern. "Easy there, doctor," he said gently. "You've been through a lot." He explained that he and his team had raided the hidden facility where Amelia had been taken. Thomas and the scientists were gone, but they were on the trail. He confirmed Amelia's suspicions. Project Phoenix was real, and she was unknowingly connected to it. The gas she had inhaled had been a sedative, and she had been brought here for questioning. Amelia struggled to sit up, the fog in her mind beginning to clear. "What about Thomas?" she asked, her voice raw with worry. "Is he safe?" Pierce's expression darkened. "We're doing everything we can to find and help him. In the meantime, you need to focus on your own safety. They'll be looking for you both." The mention of their captors sent a shiver down Amelia's spine. She remembered the cold efficiency with which the scientist had manipulated Thomas, and the terrifying potential of the augmentations he had undergone. "What are they planning to do with him?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Pierce hesitated, as if debating how much to reveal. "We believe they intend to use him as a weapon. A tool to carry out their agenda." The weight of those words settled heavily in Amelia's chest. She knew she had to do something, to help Thomas before it was too late. But what could she possibly do? She was just a scientist, with no training in espionage or combat. As if reading her mind, Pierce leaned in closer. "We need your expertise, Doctor. You're one of the few people who understands what Thomas has become. You can help us find a way to reverse the damage, to restore him to his former self." Amelia bit her lip, considering the offer. She knew that she couldn't abandon Thomas now, not when he had become such a vital part of her life, however briefly. "All right," she said finally. "But I want to help you find him first. We need to stop them before they can do any more harm." Pierce nodded grimly. "We're doing everything in our power. In the meantime, we'll need you to work with our team of scientists. They'll need your expertise to understand the extent of Thomas's new abilities, and how we can contain them." He paused, studying her face intently. "And Amelia, I have to ask, do you have any idea how Thomas might have been connected to Project Phoenix? Do you know of anyone else who might have been involved?" Amelia's mind raced, searching for any clues that might help them. "There was a man, a scientist at the orphanage where I grew up," she began. "He was always very interested in Thomas, more so than the other children. He would take him away sometimes, for tests and examinations. I never understood why." A chill ran down her spine as she thought back on those memories. "But that was years ago. I haven't seen him since I left the orphanage." Pierce took her hand in his grip reassuring. "Don't worry, Amelia. We'll find him. And we'll bring him home." The promise in his voice was enough to give Amelia a flicker of hope. Together, they would fight against the darkness that had engulfed Thomas and the others. They would find a way to put an end to Project Phoenix, and restore peace to their world. As the days passed, Amelia threw herself into her work with the GRU scientists, poring over every scrap of information they had on Thomas and the augmentations he had undergone. She shared what little she knew about his early life and the mysterious scientist who had been involved with him, but it was clear that there was still much they did not understand. One day, as they were poring over the latest data, a breakthrough came. A pattern emerged in Thomas's augmentations that seemed to indicate a connection to an ancient myth, one that spoke of a godlike figure who had been torn apart and scattered across the world. The scientists theorized that the scientist from the orphanage, whoever he was, had been searching for a way to bring this legendary figure back to life, using Thomas as a vessel. Excited by this new lead, Amelia and the GRU scientists worked tirelessly to uncover the scientist's identity and his location. They scoured records, interviewed witnesses, and even tracked down the orphanage where Amelia had grown up. But the trail proved to be elusive, and they were unable to find any concrete evidence that would lead them to their target. As the weeks turned into months, their hope began to dwindle. They were running out of time, and they had yet to make any real progress. It seemed as though Thomas's captors were always one step ahead, always managing to stay out of reach. But Amelia refused to give up. She knew that Thomas was out there somewhere, and that they would find him. One day, as she was reviewing footage from a hidden surveillance camera, she caught a glimpse of something that sent a chill down her spine. In the background of the shot, she saw a figure that she recognized as the scientist from the orphanage. He was meeting with a group of men who bore the same distinctive tattoo as the scientist who had interrogated her. She immediately alerted the team. The room erupted in a flurry of activity. Analysis of the footage confirmed Amelia's suspicions. The scientist, now identified as Dr. Edgar Vance, had resurfaced and was likely collaborating with a splinter cell of the Phoenix Project. This rogue faction, possibly disgruntled with the project's direction, could be the key to locating Thomas. Days turned into a whirlwind of planning and preparation. Amelia, despite her initial reservations, was thrust into a training program designed to equip her with the basic skills required to operate in the clandestine world. Self-defense, basic firearm handling, and a crash course in espionage tactics were crammed into a tight schedule. The pressure was immense. While Amelia wrestled with her newfound role as a reluctant action hero, she also found herself increasingly drawn to Pierce. His quiet strength and dedication to the mission offered a sense of stability amidst the chaos. One evening, as they reviewed the latest intel, a flicker of understanding passed between them. "Drive Westlake," Pierce began, his voice low. "Are you comfortable with this? You didn't sign up to be a soldier." Amelia met his gaze, her determination unwavering. "We both know this isn't about a research grant anymore. Thomas is out there, and someone has to help him. Besides, someone needs to keep an eye on you." A ghost of a smile played on her lips. Pierce chuckled, a rare sound in the tense atmosphere. "Fair enough. But just because I wear a suit doesn't mean I can't handle myself." Finally, the day arrived. Acting on a tip gleaned from the video, GRU agents staged a raid on a suspected Phoenix facility. The mission was high risk, a desperate gamble to flush out Vance and his associates. Amelia, outfitted with a concealed weapon and a heart pounding against her ribs, infiltrated the facility alongside Pierce and a team of operatives. The raid unfolded in a blur of adrenaline-fueled action. They encountered fierce resistance from heavily armed guards, and the warehouse echoed with the thunderous crack of gunfire. Amelia, drawing on her newfound training, managed to take down an attacker with a well-placed kick, the surprise momentarily disarming him. She felt a surge of unexpected competence, a sense of purpose she hadn't anticipated. Just as they were on the verge of breaching the facility's main chamber, an alarm blared, signaling a breach. They had been compromised. Chaos erupted as the room filled with reinforcements. Pierce, ever the strategist, barked orders, directing the team towards a predetermined extraction point. Amidst the pandemonium, Amelia spotted Vance making a desperate escape attempt through a side door. Without hesitation, she broke from the team, her focus narrowing on the scientist. A chase ensued, a desperate race through labyrinthine corridors. Finally, she cornered Vance in a dead-end storage room. Vance, disarmed and panting, turned to face her. His once composed demeanor had crumbled, replaced by a mixture of fear and manic conviction. "You don't understand," he rasped, his voice laced with desperation. "This isn't about power. It's about restoration. He was meant to be a god, a savior." Amelia, her voice trembling with repressed rage, demanded to know what Vance had done to Thomas. Vance, however, remained fixated on his warped vision, refusing to reveal any further information. Just as Amelia lunged towards him, a deafening boom resonated through the building. The entire facility shuddered, and debris rained down around them. The escape route they had planned on was now gone. They were trapped. Trapped with a mad scientist, a ticking clock, and a building about to collapse around them. Amelia knew they were running out of time. But what awaited them beyond this crumbling facility held an even greater uncertainty. With a sigh, she holstered her weapon, preparing for what might come next. Vance, however, seemed to have regained some of his composure. His eyes darted around the room, assessing their situation. "There's another way," he whispered. "A secret exit, built into the very foundation of the building." Pierce, who had been monitoring the situation from a safe distance, overheard Vance's statement and signaled for Amelia to bring him in. As they emerged from the storage room, they found the warehouse in complete disarray. The extraction point was no longer an option. Pierce glanced at Amelia, his expression grim. "You heard him. We've got no choice." Amelia nodded, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Let's go." She grabbed Vance roughly by the arm, half dragging him across the floor. As they made their way through the maze of corridors, she couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. They had managed to escape the first part of the trap, but they were still caught in the deadly game. And the stakes had only gotten higher. Pierce led them through a series of hidden passageways, the air growing colder and more musty with every step. Finally, they arrived at a massive iron door, set into the foundation of the building. A series of complex codes and levers were required to open it. Vance seemed to regain some confidence as he took charge of the mechanism, his fingers flying over the controls with practiced ease. With a loud click, the door swung open, revealing a steep set of stone stairs leading down into darkness. "This way," Vance whispered, his voice hoarse with desperation. "Follow me." Amelia hesitated, glancing at Pierce for guidance. He nodded grimly, his expression unreadable. They had no choice but to trust Vance, if only for now. With a deep breath, she followed the scientist down into the unknown. The stairs wound deeper and deeper into the earth, the air growing colder and more damp. They passed through a series of ancient chambers, their walls adorned with strange symbols and runes. The further they descended, the more Amelia got the sense that they were entering a world unlike anything she had ever known. Finally, they arrived at a massive door, inlaid with precious gemstones. Vance stepped forward, his hands trembling as he fit a series of ornate keys into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber beyond. In the center of the room stood a massive sarcophagus, its surface etched with even more of the strange symbols they had seen throughout their journey. A sense of dread filled Amelia as she realized what they had stumbled upon. They had found the resting place of the very god that Vance had spoken of, the one he had been so desperate to wake. Vance seemed to sense her apprehension and turned to her, his eyes filled with determination. "It's not too late," he whispered. "I can still stop it. But we must hurry." With shaking hands, he knelt before the sarcophagus and began to chant in a language she had never heard before. His voice rose and fell in a hypnotic rhythm, and as he spoke, tendrils of blue-white energy began to dance around him, coalescing into a shimmering orb. The symbols on the sarcophagus began to glow with an otherworldly light. Pierce stood watch over them, his gun drawn and ready, his gaze darting around the room as if expecting an attack. Amelia, however, could not tear her eyes away from the scene before her. She felt as if she were watching history unfold, as if the fate of the world hung in the balance. As Vance chanted, the energy within the orb grew brighter and brighter, until it was almost too much to look at. Finally, with a final, piercing cry, he hurled the orb at the sarcophagus. It struck the surface with a deafening boom, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groan, the lid began to rise. Fear gripped Amelia as she watched the sarcophagus slowly open, revealing the ancient being within. Its form was inhuman, its features twisted and monstrous, its eyes glowing with a malevolent intelligence. As it stretched its skeletal limbs and yawned, revealing rows of jagged teeth, Amelia knew that they had made a terrible mistake. They had awoken a god, and now there was no going back. The god turned its glowing gaze upon them, and Amelia felt as if her soul was being laid bare. Its presence was overwhelming, like a tidal wave of malice and hatred. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could do was stare, transfixed by the horror before her. Pierce, however, was not so easily cowed. With a growl, he leapt forward, his gun raised. The god seemed to register the threat, and its eyes narrowed. "No!" Vance cried out, his voice breaking. "You can't fight it!" But it was too late. As Pierce fired his weapon, the god's hand lashed out, striking him with inhuman force. Pierce flew across the room, landing with a sickening thud against the wall. Amelia screamed, her heart racing as she watched her friend lie motionless on the ground. The god turned back to Vance, who had shrunk against the wall, his eyes filled with terror. "You fool!" it rasped, its voice like gravel scraping across stone. "You thought you could control me?" With a cruel smile, it reached out and snapped Vance's neck, killing him instantly. As Vance's body collapsed to the ground, the god's attention turned back to Amelia. She tried to run, but her legs seemed to turn to jelly. There was nowhere to go. She was trapped. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't hurt me." The god cocked its head to the side, considering her for a moment. Then, with a malicious grin, it reached out and grabbed her by the throat. Pain exploded through her as its grip tightened, cutting off her air supply. She felt herself starting to black out, her vision growing dark and distant. Just as she thought she was about to die, however, something extraordinary happened. A blinding light filled the room, and the god's grip on her loosened. She gasped for air, her lungs burning as she drew in great, ragged breaths. When she finally looked up, she saw that the source of the light was a figure standing before them. The figure was shrouded in light, its form indistinct and shimmering. It emanated a sense of power and benevolence, the complete opposite of the monstrous god looming behind it. Amelia blinked, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Was it an angel? A hallucination brought on by lack of oxygen? The figure spoke, its voice soft yet powerful, resonating through the chamber. "Release her, creature," it commanded. The god, momentarily startled, looked between the figure and Amelia. A flicker of recognition seemed to pass across its glowing eyes. With a snarl, it flung Amelia aside, sending her crashing against the stone wall. She winced in pain, but her attention remained fixed on the unfolding scene. "Who are you?" the god boomed, its voice echoing off the chamber walls. "How dare you interfere?" The figure stepped closer, its form solidifying slightly. Amelia could now make out the outline of a tall, slender being with flowing robes. "I am the guardian," it replied. "And I will not allow you to wreak havoc upon this world." A fierce battle ensued between the god and the guardian. The chamber filled with dazzling displays of energy. Beams of light clashed with tendrils of darkness, the very air crackling with raw power. Amelia watched in awe, a mixture of fear and hope swirling within her. Despite its immense size and strength, the god seemed to be struggling against the Guardian's otherworldly power. Its attacks grew increasingly desperate, fueled by rage and frustration. Finally, with a mighty blow, the Guardian struck the god in the chest, sending it flying back across the chamber. The god crashed against the sarcophagus, its monstrous form shuddering. Cracks began to appear in its glowing skin, spreading like spider webs. Amelia watched in disbelief as the once invincible creature began to crumble. With a final, deafening roar, the god exploded in a shower of light and energy. The force of the blast knocked Amelia off her feet and sent debris flying across the chamber. When the dust settled, all that remained of the god was a faint wisp of smoke, dissipating into the air. The Guardian stood tall amidst the wreckage, its form shimmering brightly. It turned towards Amelia, its presence strangely comforting. "You are safe now," it said gently. Amelia struggled to her feet, her body aching from the ordeal. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "What is happening?" The Guardian approached her, its form solidifying further. Amelia could now see the outline of a woman with kind eyes and a compassionate smile. "I am a protector," the Guardian explained. "My purpose is to maintain balance between the realms, to prevent beings of chaos from entering your world." She knelt beside Amelia, her touch warm and reassuring. "You have been chosen, Drive Westlake. You have a unique connection to this place, a dormant power that was awakened by the events that transpired here." Amelia stared at her, her mind reeling. A chosen one? A dormant power? It all seemed too fantastical, too unbelievable. The Guardian seemed to sense her confusion. "You have the ability to sense and manipulate energy," she explained. "It is this power that drew you to this place, and ultimately saved you." Amelia's thoughts drifted back to the strange visions she had experienced, the recurring image of the raven-haired woman. Could this be connected to her newfound abilities? "The woman you saw," the Guardian continued, as if reading her mind, "was me. I appeared to you in fragments, trying to guide you towards your destiny." Amelia felt a surge of emotions, fear, confusion, and a flicker of excitement. This was all too much to take in, but a part of her, a part that had been dormant for so long, felt strangely awakened. "What now?" she asked, her voice small. The Guardian stood up, her form beginning to fade once more. "You have a choice to make, Drive Westlake. You can return to your world, to your life as a scientist. Or you can stay here, and learn to control your newfound power. You can become a guardian, a protector alongside me." Amelia looked around the ruined chamber, the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. This was not the life she had envisioned for herself, but the events of the past few days had changed her irrevocably. She had seen the potential for darkness, for destruction. And she had also glimpsed a powerful force for good. Taking a deep breath, Amelia met the Guardian's gaze. "I want to help," she said, her voice filled with newfound determination. "I want to learn to control my power, to use it to protect this world." The Guardian smiled warmly. "Then welcome, Drive Westlake. Welcome to your new life." Her form faded completely, leaving Amelia alone in the chamber. But she wasn't alone. She felt a connection to the Guardian, to the world of the gods and their eternal struggle against chaos. As the last traces of the gods' energy dissipated, the chamber began to slowly heal itself, repairing the damage inflicted during the battle. Amelia wandered among the fallen columns and crumbling statues, her mind racing with questions. She reached out, tentatively touching the smooth stone of a pillar, feeling the energy coursing through it, the same energy that flowed through her own veins. The Guardian reappeared beside her, solid once more. "You must train," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Your power is great, but it is also unpredictable. You must learn to control it, to wield it with precision." She led Amelia to a clearing in the center of the chamber, where a small fountain bubbled up, its waters sparkling with energy. "Here," the Guardian explained, "you will begin your training. You will learn to focus your energy, to manipulate it as you wish. Amelia nodded, taking a deep breath. She knew this journey would not be easy, that there would be challenges and setbacks along the way. But she also knew that she was not alone, that she had found a new purpose, a new family, in this world of gods and guardians. Together they stood before the fountain, the energy of the gods flowing through them, the promise of a bright future shining on. And as Amelia dipped her hand into the fountain, feeling the power surge through her veins, she knew that she was ready to begin her new life as a guardian, as a protector of the world she had once thought was ordinary, but now knew was anything but. The guardian placed a gentle hand on Amelia's shoulder, her eyes filled with wisdom and understanding. The first step, she said, is to find your center. To focus your energy, to let it flow through you like water through a stream. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Feel the energy of the gods coursing through your veins and let it guide you. Amelia closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. She could feel the energy pulsing through her, like a heartbeat, like a second soul. She focused on that feeling, letting it become her center, her anchor. Slowly she began to relax, letting go of her fear and her doubts, letting herself become one with the power that flowed through her. The guardian watched with pride as Amelia found her center, as she began to master the energy that coursed through her veins. Good, she said, her voice soft and reassuring. Now try to extend your hand, to reach out and touch the fountain. Amelia opened her eyes, feeling the energy surging through her, and reached out towards the fountain. As her hand made contact with the cool, glowing water, she felt a surge of power, a connection so strong it was almost overwhelming. She gasped, and the energy flowed through her, up her arm, and out into the world. The fountain's waters began to swirl, the energy intensifying, responding to Amelia's touch. The guardian smiled, her eyes gleaming with pride. You are strong, Drive Westlake, she said. Stronger than you ever imagined. And with practice, with training, you will only grow stronger. You will become a guardian unlike any that have come before you. As the last words left her lips, Amelia felt a surge of power, like the fountain had come alive beneath her touch. The air around her seemed to crackle with energy, and the ground beneath her feet began to glow with a soft, ethereal light. The guardian smiled, her face radiant with pride and wisdom. You have tapped into the fountain's heart, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You are now attuned to its energy, and it to you. This connection will only grow stronger as you continue to train and master your abilities. Amelia felt a newfound sense of purpose and responsibility wash over her. She knew that her life would never be the same again, but she also knew that she was ready for the challenges that lay ahead. She looked up at the guardian, her eyes shining with determination. I will not fail you, she said, her voice steady and strong. I will protect this world, and I will make sure that the gods' power is used for good, not evil. The guardian nodded, a small tear trickling down her cheek. You have honored us with your faith, Amelia, she replied, reaching out to gently wipe the tear away. And we, in turn, will guide you, protect you, and help you grow into the guardian you were always meant to be. As they stood there, surrounded by the energy of the gods, Amelia could feel the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. But she also felt a sense of peace, a knowing that she was exactly where she belonged. She took a deep breath, feeling the power of the fountain coursing through her veins, and smiled. Thank you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you for showing me the way. The guardian returned her smile, her eyes filled with love and admiration. The path ahead will not be easy, she warned. There will be trials and tribulations, setbacks and heartache. But know this, Amelia, you are never alone. You have us, and the gods, and all the guardians who have come before you. And together, we will protect this world, no matter what challenges we must face. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories, Give us a like if you want to see more, and drop a comment below to let us know your thoughts.